My mother said that if someone touches me inappropriately, I should come to the office and call her. I'm going to begin our summer safety talk this year with a remarkable story that happened over 15 years ago when we first started talking about summer safety and giving talks like this. At the time, it was not necessarily commonplace everywhere. We actually did a teleconference phone call, if you must know, if I'm dating myself. It was a while back. And I spoke to a group of parents, a few hundred parents on the phone conversation, and gave them some tips about how to keep their kids safe in camp during the summer. One of the mothers that was there called me a few weeks later when her son was in camp already and related that her child was approached by an adult in the camp who got inappropriate with him before anything serious happened. The kid ran to the office and he said, I have to call my mother. And they said, well, we only call on Fridays. He says, no, my mother said that if someone touches me inappropriately, I should call her right away. And he said it at the top of his lungs. And of course, they let him call right away. This stuff really works. I don't want you to feel frightened. I want you to feel empowered. If you're sending your son or daughter to a sleepaway camp, it's not too late to call the camp director or someone in the administration in camp. I very strongly encourage you to do this and ask them what safety training they have for their staff. Now, camps have different staff education around child safety, so all you're doing is listening. The only thing that should concern you is if the administration member says, oh, thank God, nothing like that ever happens around here. That should get you concerned. Other than that, listen carefully and share that information with your child. Now, one of the things that make it helpful is ask the camp administrator, again, what their child safety training looks like and what do they tell the children during orientation. Typically, the head of the camp or someone in the senior administration talks to the kids, and one of the things they tell them is that if you're feeling uncomfortable for any reason or unsafe, come to, and that he or she will list a number of people on the administrative team. So you're finding out, you say, look, I would like to speak to my child before the summer starts, and I'd like our information to be congruent. So tell me what you're going to tell the kids during orientation, so I'll be able to do that. You might also want to go visit the website of the camp and show your child the administration members to get more comfortable if they've never been in camp before. If your conversation with the camp administration member about child safety went well and you feel that you understand their program, how things work, then you're probably ready to sit down and have a talk with your child, sharing those rules and ideas with him or her. If you're not comfortable yet, you don't feel like you really understand the program, don't be shy. You can politely ask some follow-up questions, like, did you find this helpful in the past? These rules, do kids actually disclose to administration members when they feel uncomfortable? Do you remind the kids during the summer about this? I found over the years that well-run camps that have good programs, the administration members are actually proud of it, as they should be. And they're eager to share with you. If they start getting defensive, provided that you're asking the questions politely and not giving them the third degree, if they start getting defensive in a polite conversation, honestly, that might be a sign that things aren't exactly as they should be there. But find out and get a comfort level where you understand it well so that you can pass that information on to your child. Some talking points when you sit down with your child and actually discuss what the administration member said regarding child safety and how things work in the camp. Your messages to your child should be that he or she always has the right to feel safe. They should speak up if they don't feel safe for any reason. You will support them and love them unconditionally no matter what. Now, if your child starts rolling their eyes, just go on with what you're saying. It's okay. Everybody has their role to play. You tell them, they roll their eyes. It's okay. They're listening. It's about establishing norms. It's about telling them that, generally speaking, during the year, we're around. Your parents are around, or your parent is around to protect your safety if you're feeling unsafe. Now that we're far away, the camp administrators share that role with us. So make them feel comfortable and empowered to speak up if something is not going right. And you can improvise as you go. You can say something like, feel free to go to the office and call me if you're not really comfortable talking to an administration member. You might want to make up a code word that your child will use in a conversation if they're not feeling safe and they don't feel there's privacy there. Do whatever you can to set their minds at ease. Rabbi Horowitz, I got to tell you this. I bought my son, who just turned bar mitzvah, I bought him a weekday watch that I told him I want him to wear all the time. And I said that because you're going to shul, to synagogue by yourself now, I want you to be safe at all times. So just in case an adult corners you in a room and you're feeling uncomfortable, look at your watch and say, my father's picking me up in 2 minutes. I gotta go. I heard this from a father who was at one of my safety classes many years ago, and he added that to his child safety training for his son. I didn't tell him to say that. It was a brilliant idea. I wish I would have thought of it. I love collecting best practices, and that was a great one. What that father did is he thought about scenarios. He got the regular safety package that I was discussing there, but he was thinking, as he should have been, he was thinking ahead and saying, what happens if my son's in shul, in synagogue by himself? So he created this whole construct. An adult tried to abuse his child, and his son used that thing and got right out of the building. So I'm going to do the same with the summer safety and encourage you to add to what I'm saying. A significant component of summer child safety that's not sleepaway camp related, but for the rest of the summer, or for your children who aren't attending summer camp, is about situational awareness. It's about understanding possible areas of danger and understand the reality that when your child is in a regular school setting, think about how many adults and older children they come in contact with throughout the course of a week. They're basically, the same group. It's pretty predictable. They're in a routine. Summertime, almost by definition, is not routine. And they're exposed to so many more people that they don't know. And they're doing things out of routine, in addition to, let's say, you send them to day camp. So that is structured. But because so much of the summertime, thankfully, is a time for kids to hang out and really enjoy themselves away from school, I encourage parents to think about danger possibilities and how to remediate them, like that father did in the story I said yesterday, buying his child a weekday watch. By all means, see that you give your children a child safety refresher before the summer and talk about the general rules of child safety. No one is ever allowed to tell them to keep a secret from their parents. If they feel uncomfortable for any reason, they have a right, and a sacred right, to get out and come to one of the parents, to other trusted adults that you designate, and tell them, especially if you're in a bungalow colony or in a much more open space where things aren't as organized as they are all year, they need to know that they can get out of something that doesn't feel right to them. Talk about personal space, their ownership of their personal space, and it's supposed to be a norm. They're supposed to feel that this is normal, that I have a right to have my space and to have people not encroach on it, so that, God forbid, if someone invades that space, it looks peculiar to them. That's not how we do things. Children very often will react in a certain way if someone encroaches on their space, and usually the potential abuser, God forbid, says, hey, that kid was spoken to, I'm out of here. Talk about good touching, bad touching. Some touching is okay, some touching is not, like a spot covered by a bathing suit. Have a refresher talk with them before the summer, listing all of these items. Please resist the temptation to tell children frightening stories of someone, God forbid, who was abused, or say other things like that that will really bug them out and frighten them. The research shows that children and adults, when we get frightened, the fear really crowds out what else is going on in our minds, and research shows that it's difficult to retain information when you're feeling terrified. So by all means, have the conversations with your children, but not frighten them. Do it in a way that there's a moderate amount of anxiety, which is important. You're telling them about something that is safety related, but not in a frightening way. Quite to the contrary, try to have them feel empowered, especially in a summer setting like a bungalow colony, or when they're away at friends or relatives. In settings like that, it's possible that they'll be in a situation where they're starting to feel uncomfortable. And the research shows that the best time for kids to get out of a situation where they're uncomfortable is early on. In other words, train them that they don't have to feel house on fire uncomfortable. You tell them, even if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable, if something doesn't feel right, follow your instincts. That's an extraordinarily valuable message to teach your children.